Hello everyone and welcome to the Dice Tower. Today I'm going to be going through my top 10 games of 2023. A couple of caveats: the year's not quite finished yet, so I've not played everything, and also I've based this list off what Board Game Geek says is a 2023 release. There's some spiel things that are 2024, and there's some games which, well, I got this year, but were last year's and stuff. So just think those caveats going into the list, but let's jump in with number 10. So my number 10 is a game that surprised me quite a bit this year. I'm not a huge fan of Push Your Luck, and you may have seen my review here on the Dice Tower for Deep Dive. And I really did enjoy this one. It is pure Push Your Luck. Very simple, very to the point, very much for families. You're not getting much depth in this game despite the name. You are penguins that are diving deeper. The deeper you go, the more risk there is of predators ending your turn without you getting a point scoring tile. But those point scoring tiles, the deeper you go, are worth more. So risk versus reward. Effectively on your turn, you're turning over a tile. If it's point scoring, you can carry on to the next layer and push your luck, or you can take that, end your turn, and have hopefully scored them. Well, you're banking those points, but you're trying to collect them in sets of colours, because otherwise they're only worth half the points. It's just super quick, super easy to teach people and be like, right, turn one of these over, yay or nay, can you go on? There's a few things like rocks that allow you to start further down just to twist it up a bit, but it's push your luck and that's all it is. It's a lot of fun. That's Deep Dive. Number 9 is Kirel the Jewel, and I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's effectively a very fast-paced two-player combat game from Lucky Duck Games. You are a samurai versus another samurai, and you're playing these thick cards from your hand. You've got pretty much the exact same cards as your opponent, but your stance matters. If you're in one stance, you can hit a bit further away. If you swap to the other stance, well, you're staying stationary for that sort of turn, and then you can maybe just hit at a closer range. It's so fast, and one of the things about this game that I really love is the parry system. Parrying in a lot of games is like, right, we've both attacked, so we've parried, that was a bit lackluster. But somehow in this, because it's like 2 hits and you're out and you've lost, parrying feels good because it's like, whoa, we were both close to getting sliced a little bit there by the opposing samurai. Throw in the fact that there's some special cards, you get one of those. It's a one-time use card. And well, Kirel the Jewel has been a lot of fun, and just once you've got it to the table and played it once, you want to go again. That's my number 9, Kirel the Jewel. My number 8 is Nanatori Dory, which is a very small Japanese card game. Effectively, you're not allowed to change the order of the cards in your hand, which isn't seen in too many other games, maybe in something like Wind the Film or something like that. And you're trying to play these cards to unlock maybe a pair of 2s to be able to play that later in the round. So you want to play the card from the middle of the 2 2s in your hand, because then they'll come together and you can play them as a pair. Because you're just basically trying to get rid of your cards. It needs to either be a higher number or a higher number of cards than has previously been played. So 2 2s have been played. You can play 3 3s or maybe even 3 1s. And it's just, you're trying to get rid of these cards, but you've got a nice little choice of, I've played these cards, do I want to take those previous ones into my hand? Why would you do that? Because it's opening up other opportunities for you to play cards. Because if you have to pass, you draw a card. It could be really good, it could not be. So, some really fun ones, and it's just a really quick, super simple card game that you can play. A bit of a filler, but I've really enjoyed it, and it looks pretty nice as well. My number 7 is a deck building game, but unlike most, it's only for 2 players. I've really enjoyed Star Wars the deck building game, despite the very on-the-nose name. There's something very satisfying about the game that has 2 very distinct sides. The market down the middle, you can't buy all of the cards. Some of the cards your opponent can get, and only your opponent. But you can use some of your deck building actions, like you're playing these cards down. Instead of attacking your opponent's base, which is the main goal, maybe you attack one of those cards in the market that your opponent can buy, and that's going to give you a little bonus and stop them getting maybe a really good card as well. So there's some great choices from that deck building. There's neutral sort of people that both sides can get, so the market's not just yay or nay, you can't always get sort of this or that. So you've got some cards that you can buy, some that are neutral, and some that only your opponent can get that you can attack. You've got sort of these dreadnought big ships that just sit in front of your base, hopefully sponging some of the damage for you, so your base lasts a bit longer, and then your bases have abilities. It's all a really cool game that works well as a deck builder for 2 people, and it's Star Wars themed, which, well, that doesn't hurt it either. My number 6 is a retheming, reprint, but some tweaks have been made of a game I've not played the original of, and that's Waterfall Park. So this is a rethemed version of Chinatown, although I believe it's slightly shorter because they've streamlined some bits of it. But I really have enjoyed this one. First of all, it's very bright and vibrant. I'm not 100% sure the theme helps what you're doing in the game, but you are opening these rides up on this sort of board. But you are given like these spaces dotted around the board, and you're given these random ride tiles, and then you need to negotiate and trade with the others around the table. Really highly interactive one that you're constantly like, they made me pay that extra coin earlier when I really wanted that ghost ride. Well, now they're after this cinema, I'm going to make them pay me that coin back. And you're trying to put these rides down in certain set sizes, so maybe you need 5 for the cinema, whereas you only need 3 for this other ride, and they're going to generate you income, so you want to get them down, but you kind of don't want to make it too obvious which one you're going for, because then they're going to make you pay for it when you're doing these sort of, not dodgy dealings, but dealing with others around the table to be like, I want that tile from you, and I need that tile from you. Some great interactions and sort of trades going on throughout the game. Really have enjoyed Waterfall Park. My number 5 is a game called Stitch for Stitch, and I think we're definitely in an era of trick-taking coming back into the main. And this is one that puts a little twist on it, and one that does a twist really well, as one person is effectively the accomplice of a murderer. They know who did it, and they know what they used. And they are trying to basically play these tricks in a way that whoever wins the trick gives a bit of information away, because there's a certain order. Maybe this trick you've given away, oh, it's one of these 2 characters, because of who's won that trick. Next time it might be the weapon that you've given a bit of information away about, and the other players around the table are trying to work it out from who has won the tricks, basically what the murderer and the murderer weapon is. It's a really cool twist. In fact, probably my worst thing about this game is that it only plays to 3 and 4 players. I really wish you could play it with a slightly wider player range, because trick-taking games are great fun, and adding that sort of deduction twist, really great, and that's Stitch for Stitch. My number 4 is a game called Pathways, and it is entirely on this list at this high because I couldn't put it any lower. For the volume of plays that it has had and the amazing entertaining moments that it has caused and created. It's a 2-player 1v1, although there are other game modes where you can play with more people, where you are flicking these discs. But it's got holes across this board in front of you. So as you're flicking, trying to get it into the back row, sort of where you're facing, like the one closest to your opponent, that's like the goal line that you're aiming for. But it's going to be, your discs are going to be falling into the holes across the board, creating these pathways. Now, this is a game that I had a couple of years ago, but hasn't had an official release this year. That's why it's on the 2023 list, because that's what Board Game Geek says, and I've just played this so many times, and every time it hits the table, it's impossible to play one round, because as soon as you win or lose, it's, shall we have a rematch? Just so much fun. Just simple flicking. You can have a great conversation, some drinks while you're doing it. It's very chilled. Just an absolute joy. That's Pathways. Number 3 is a legacy game. Now, I'm not a huge fan of putting games that you don't necessarily want to play after you finish them on these sort of lists, but My Island has been an absolute blast for us. We've really enjoyed ploughing through the campaign. There's so many games of it, but each one, there's a little rules tweak, and then like every 3, you're opening a new envelope. And these envelopes can change things up quite a bit. If you've played My City, it's very similar in the way things unlock and build on the very basic polyomino placement gameplay, but you're unlocking these things, you're changing the way you're scoring. Oh, we were scoring for blank, but now we don't score for that, we score for blank. And I'm not going to tell you what they are because, well, you will probably enjoy this if you played through the Legacy and finding out, oh, how are we scoring differently in this game. I've really enjoyed it. Polyomino placements for me is a real highlight, and the Legacy twist just elevates My Island. Highly can recommend it. And that's why it's my number 3. My number 2 probably will be my number 1 eventually, but it needs more plays to actually get there. And this is Unmatched Tales to Amaze. First of all, full-on caveat, Unmatched is one of my favourite series of games. The fact that you can take any of the fighters, the heroes from any of the previous releases and use it in this cooperative expansion, and the fact that you've got 4 new heroes to play as. Okay, the 4 new heroes aren't necessarily all my favourite brand new heroes, but the fact I'm going to be able to play one of my favourite games in a different way, and a fun way as well. I was really hoping they weren't going to screw it up, and wow, they really didn't. It's really fun to play against the different villains and the different sub-villains, and not like the mini-bosses. They change things up. Like, they're hard to beat, and they're fun to try and beat as well. And yeah, I've had a lot of fun, and I just need to get the game again now. It's soon to be available in the UK. I want to play it again properly, and then it will go even higher as I'm able to try, you know, Bruce Lee or any of the Marvel heroes or whatever against the Mothman or the aliens. Just absolutely have enjoyed my current plays, and I'm just waiting for more plays of what has been a standout game for me. That's Unmatched Tales to Amaze. And my number 1 is a game which I think most people will have exceedingly high on their list. It's Earth. It's a fantastic quick game if you don't mind about a bit of luck. Very much like your Terraforming Marses, your Ark Novas, those style of games. This is a game where the deck is absolutely huge. You may get out of it what you need, you may not. You've got to work with what you can get. You can draw an absolute ton of cards and then hopefully have the resources to play them, which is then hopefully going to trigger you abilities when you're doing something or other people, because it's got simultaneous bits and pieces. The other person over there is doing the plant action. They get a big version of it, but you get a little version of the plant action. And I love that because it means you're entirely involved, regardless of if it's your turn or someone else's. You're interested, you're involved in what is going on. And then throw into the mix, you're building out this 16 card grid, this 4x4 grid, and you're trying to, you know, oh, if I activate this, all of that type of tree gets a sprout on it or whatever. Really enjoy it. Like I say, there's a bit of luck to it. The scores are often huge, and yet the scores are often still very close to who wins and who's in second place, that sort of thing. Really have enjoyed it regardless of player count. I do think when you're at max player count it is a bit slower, but you're still getting to do lots. It's one of those games like Terraforming Mars or Ark Nova. It feels big, but it does have a shorter play time as well, so it just helps it get to the table, and has been an absolute standout game from 2023. So there you have it. They are my top 10. Of course, the caveats still remain. I've not played every game. I've not been able to. There's thousands of games released every year. But what have I missed off this list? Let us know in the comments section below. And, well, enjoy the rest of your gaming year.